welcome to I Wrote This News. Today is Saturday, March 5th, 2022. Every weekend, we will give you a wrap-up of the week's events, highlighting and expanding on listener favorites from the week. Let's dive in. Story number 1, Stand Your Sticky Movie Theater Ground. A Florida jury acquitted retired police captain Curtis Reeves in the shooting death of a man in a movie theater 8 years ago. Reeves pleaded not guilty and claimed self-defense, previously telling authorities he feared he would be attacked after he and Allison got into an argument. Allison then threw a bag of popcorn at Reeves, who then took out a handgun and fired, hitting Allison in the chest, according to the complaint. Reeves told authorities he was, quote, in fear of being attacked, according to the complaint, and it was this argument that appears to have persuaded the jury to acquit Reeves. In related news, former President Trump reportedly has asked New York Attorney General Letitia James if she'd like to go to the movies with him. Story number 2, Mitt Romney wakes up and smells the coffee, even if he's not supposed to drink it. Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah on Sunday blasted his fellow GOP members who attended a white nationalist event, and those who support Russian President Vladimir Putin as that country invades Ukraine. Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and Paul Gosar of Arizona both spoke at the America First Political Action Conference. That event was organized by white nationalist Nick Fuentes. Romney explained, quote, look, there is no place in either political party for this white nationalism or racism. It's simply wrong. It's evil as well. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar, I don't know them, but I'm reminded of that old line from the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid movie where one character says, morons, I've got morons on my team.
Morons. I've got morons on my team.
Morons. I've got morons on my team.
I've got morons on my team.
Morons. I've got morons on my team.
Romney wrapped it up, saying, quote, I have to think anybody that would sit down with white nationalists and speak at their conference was certainly missing a few IQ points. Story number 3, the devil didn't make Putin do it, it was the other guy. Televangelist and bobblehead impersonator Pat Robertson said that Russian President Vladimir Putin was, quote, compelled by God in his decision to invade Ukraine, suggesting that Russia's attacks are a precursor to an end-times battle in Israel. The Christian media mogul and serial end of the world alarmist said, quote, I think you can say, well, Putin's out of his mind. Yes, maybe so, but at the same time, he's being compelled by God. He went into the Ukraine, but that wasn't his goal. His goal was to move against Israel, ultimately. Robertson then cited verses from the book of Ezekiel that note how nations will come together to rise up against Israel, suggesting that Ukraine is merely a staging ground for an eventual Armageddon battle. Robertson went on to say, quote, God is getting ready to do something amazing, and that will be fulfilled. Robertson's comments come as Ukraine has suffered 1,500 civilian and military casualties since the attack began. In Kiev, residents are bracing for an all-out assault as the Russian force, under the command of Putin, a president whose country has quickly become an international political and economic pariah, is apparently preparing to encircle the capital. That a loving God would compel this all to happen would be amazing indeed. But what's even more amazing is Robertson's track record when it comes to predicting the end of the world. Something Robertson got wrong in 1982, 2006, 2007, and most recently in 2020. Pat Robertson is a former Republican candidate for President of the U.S. His net worth is estimated to be between $200 million and $1 billion. Story number 4, Pretend Cowboy Sam Elliott is genuinely upset that other pretend cowboys are not pretending the way he likes it. Western movie star Sam Elliott is no fan of the film The Power of the Dog. Although the Western from director Jane Campion has been a tremendous hit with critics and Netflix subscribers. Coming out strong at the Academy Awards with a slew of nominations, Elliott made it clear he wasn't impressed when the topic came up on Marc Maron's WTF podcast. Let's listen in, but be prepared for someone who sounds like an old white straight dude with a bad case of constipation.
The evisceration of the American West. I mean, they made it look like, what are all those dancers, those guys in New York that wear bow ties and not much else? Remember them from back in the day?
Oh, the Chippendales?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what all these fucking cowboys in that movie looked like. They're all running around in chaps and no shirts. There's all these allusions to homosexuality throughout the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Sam, we have news for you. Homosexuality isn't some sort of recent invention or limited to New York, quote, back in the day. Also, that movie isn't a documentary. It's a movie. It's a story. It's art. The stash following Yosemite Sam like Elliott goes on to give us his thoughtful assessment of the film's director, Jane Campion.
She's a brilliant director,
Yeah.
by the way. I love her work,
Right.
previous work.
Sure.
But what the does this woman from down there
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Right.
Know about the American West. And why in the does she shoot this movie in New Zealand and call it Montana?
It's good. This movie.
And say, this is the way it was.
It's got you, this movie.
So that rubbed me the wrong way, pal.
All those chaps rubbed you the wrong way. That's called chafing, Sam. Elliott had some special love for actor Benedict Cumberbatch, too.
I mean, Cumberbatch never got out of his chaps. He had 2 pair of chaps, a woolly pair and a leather pair.
Yeah.
And every time he'd walk in from somewhere, I don't know where, in he never was on a horse.
Yeah.
Maybe once.
Yeah.
He'd walk into the house, storm up the stairs, go lay on his bed in his chaps and play his banjo. And it's like, what the
Sam, take a deep breath and try to relax, and maybe try increasing the fiber in your diet. Although his parents were originally from Texas, Sam Elliott was born in Sacramento, California and grew up there and in Portland, Oregon. He worked in construction while studying acting in Los Angeles. He's never been a cowboy, nor, as far as we can tell, lived in Montana. To be fair, it does sound as though he's still living in the past. Story number 5, JetBlue, 4 times over the limit. A JetBlue pilot was removed from a plane in Buffalo on Wednesday morning after he was suspected of being intoxicated. James Clifton, 52, was arrested and could face federal charges, the Transportation Authority said. Clifton was passing through airport security at the Buffalo airport when a TSA agent noticed he, quote, may have been impaired, a statement said. The agent contacted airport police, who removed him from the cockpit of the Fort Lauderdale-bound flight. He then blew 0.17 on a breathalyzer test, authorities said, which is more than twice the driving legal limit. Pilots are considered not fit to fly if their blood alcohol level is over 0.04, according to a brochure from the Federal Aviation Administration. It's one thing for flight attendants to have to deal with unruly, drunk passengers. It's another for the pilots to get in on the act. Good morning, ladies and germs. This is Captain Clifton speaking. Welcome on board. I don't know about y'all, but today I'll be cruising at an altitude that's, well, higher than a kite. Crab and Q, prepare for liftoff. March 5th is the 64th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. 301 days remain until the end of the year. Now it's time for On This Date in History. On this date in 1616, Nicolaus Copernicus's book on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres is added to the index of forbidden books 73 years after it was first published. 1836, Samuel Colt patents the first production model revolver, the .34 caliber. 1933, Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party receives 43.9% at the Reichstag elections, which allows the Nazis to later pass the Enabling Act and establish a dictatorship. 1981, the ZX81, a pioneering British home computer, is launched by Sinclair Research and would go on to sell over 1.5 million units around the world. Celebrating birthdays today, singer our Nobel laureate Danny Kahneman, chef Pierre Winans, magician Penn Jillette, journalist Ray Suarez, prosperity gospel peddler Joel Osteen, actor Kevin Connolly, actress Eva Menz, Serbian volleyballer Jovana Brkovic, and actor Paul Sand. He turns 90 today. Happy birthday to all of them, and if your birthday is today, a very happy birthday to you as well. By the way, if you or someone you know is having a birthday and would like us to announce it on the show, leave us a voice message or send an email. The links are in the show notes. Today's news was brought to us by CNN, The Washington Post, MovieWeb, WTF with Marc Maron, CBS News, and the website that easily passes every field sobriety test, Wikipedia. If you have a comment or a question about anything you've heard today, or if you have a suggestion, please send us a note at IWrotethis.news, all one word, at thatradioshow.com. That email address one more time is IWrotethis.news, all one word, at thatradioshow.com.
One more thing, if this podcast sounds a little funny, that's because it's also an experiment. All of the vocals were generated using AI technology. Hopefully the show will sound different and better as the tech improves and as we improve at using it. I'm Bob Neese, hoping you have an amazing day. We'll get together again soon.